Hi everyone. It's been a while. Then I'm Thomas Roussel. I'm from Pixelogic, and today I will continue my stream and my project about this Kylo Ren lightsaber. To be honest, I started this project something like 3 months ago. Unfortunately, for various reasons, I haven't been able to do my streams recently. Of course, with end of year vacation and all this stuff. Then I hope to finish almost everything today. Then the program is about just doing some fine tuning, not on the model itself, but on the preparation for 3D printing, because a big part of today's presentation will be about how to prepare your model for 3D printing, and in particular to print on an SLA printer, the Form2 from Formlabs. And in fact, this series of presentation I'm doing are sponsored by Formlabs. This is a printer I own, and I will try to explain everything. And I don't know if you follow it in the past, this stream, but I spoke all the time about 3D printing and preparation. Then today we need to have that ready to be printed, and I will switch at the end to the printer. Let me switch off webcam. Just for your information, I already did quite some presentation about 3D printing. Just have a look at my 2B character from Nier Automata, the video game, and I'm explaining a lot of stuff as well about 3D printing. And about this model, since the last time, I almost did nothing on it because of the lack of time, of free time to work on that. The only thing I did was to put inside a cylinder. You will see that just later. Except that, nothing else. Then, as you can look, I can see, sorry, on my subtool list, I have quite some subtool, not as much, because the original project was 54 parts. Then if you enable the live Boolean, you see everything that I split. I convert all my subtool to Booleans. Sorry, it's been a while I didn't do my stream in English and I'm a little bit rusty, sorry. Then I convert all my subtool to resulting mesh from my, my Booleans inside of ZBrush, which result in all of these 9 pieces. If I go to solo mode, and selecting the top one, you see this is the main part of the hilt. This cylinder is what I explained before, this for negative part. This part, this one on top, like that. And this one, which is a kind of switch, and this part. Then you see all this part, this is not that much, but I need to continue my split, because again, this lightsaber, where is the other one? Sorry, because my kids always play with it. Sorry, I don't see the other, the draft I printed, but it's quite big. This is 30 centimeters high by 15 for the width. This is quite big. Big, sorry. I'm very sorry for my English. And if you want to print your model like that, it will be a lot of resin. And resin is a great material to print, great material to do all your post-work on it for sanding and carving a little bit and all these kind of things. Unfortunately, it's a little bit expensive. Then this is very important to optimize your model, mainly to reduce the cost of printing. And also, if you have less material to print, it will be at the same time faster to print. Hold on, let me just do something on my computer. Okay, it will be easier. The music was too loud. Then, if you look at some parts, if I'm selecting the main part of the hilt body, this one just below, and I'm switching to solo mode, then this is this object, like that. And you see there is a little bit of opening with an internal thickness. It's just to put all the stuff below, especially this part which is connected to that one. The problem is, as you can see, the internal part is just filled with just my polygons, of course. Then if I want to print that, all this part, this big part here will be just filled by a resin, and this is quite some volume. Then I need to hollow as much as possible. And another reason is I wanted to do all the electronics inside, but I'm really like, I mean, I don't have the time to do that, unfortunately. I already bought some part for the electronics for the LEDs and some electronics, but I won't have the time. But in case in the future I want to add the electronics, it's better also to leave some room to put the electronics inside, just the batteries. Then I will just remove this part. And this is why I have this tube here. If you just look at that, and let me remove my dynamic subdivision. This is a very basic cylinder that I just extruded to fit the internal part. And this is only that I did since the last time. And let me go back to solo mode. Then all this part here, let me just remove my live Boolean. It's quite big. I need to hollow that. Everything here is almost ready for the bottom part. Let me remove this part and hiding the polyframe. This one is very basic. I can move it just to see that. You see this one is very simple and there is no need to hollow that. And this one here, which is inside, I will hollow it as well, because only this bottom part will be visible and this part, but everything inside is useless. Then by hollowing, of course, again, I have less resin. Let me just revert. Then this tube, like I said before, and on top. Then we have this part here. Let me recenter my subtool. This one. You see, this is a big block of metal that I will need to print. Then I need to do multiple preparation for this one. First one is, you see, for this kind of plasma output here on top and on the side, I have this kind of lines. And if I want to print just like that, without considering the amount of volume which is needed, I will need a lot of support, because whatever the orientation I will define, I mean, I will put, I will orient my model to print, I will need some support to help some part printing. And the more support I have, the more sanding I will need to do. And sanding inside like that will be very complicated. Let me show you one of the images. Where are you? Where did I put these images? It should be 3D printing. Why is it not here? Okay, then I wanted to show something, but I don't know where did I put that. It should be there. Okay, sorry, I wanted to show you that the photo I did for the FDM printer, and all the support inside was a pain. And of course, I prefer by far the support that Preform, the software to manage Form2 is doing, because they are very easy to manage and to remove. But again, the more support you have, the more sanding you need to do. Then I will need to do a kind of just separation for this part, just to have in cut this tube and having these lines like that being a separate parts. Then we do a kind of opening here, same of on this side and same on the top. And if you look below, you have all this material here inside, which is useless. And another reason is, for whatever reason I want to put some batteries and stuff like that, I need to add a hole here, which will go through this part. And the same for this part. Then I need to do an opening and a small opening to be able to put some cables to connect on this part. Let me just go there. And this one, just to finish, let me go in solo mode. This one is okay for the top, but again, I still have quite some material on this area. And again, if I want to have some wires go through this model, I need to do this all this opening. Then I hope for the next 45-60 minutes I will need to prepare all my models, doing all the temporary shapes before generating the Boolean. When it will be done, perhaps I will do some small modifications, and then I will switch to all the optimization for 3D printing, decimation, size, going in NetFab Basic to do all the verification of the topology, and after going back to Preform before starting at least one print with the Form2. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat. Hi, Cigar Rush. It's been a while. And yes, I'm French. Sorry, not German, French. Okay. And yes, Bazooka Plasma is just writing that for FDM you can greatly reduce support if you print in parts. In fact, whatever the 3D printing technology you are using, adding more parts will give you way more freedom about defining where you want to have your support for painting, for sanding, for everything. It's a lot more preparation work, but for sure it will be easier to print your model and doing everything else, and it will reduce the failure rate as well. I can't show you then of one of the model I work with one of the artists who is using ZBrush and who did his first print with the Form2, and it was too much complex, not for the printer, but to print in just one part. And anyway, let's go back to this model. But before starting to do all these opening and parts, I just need to add a part of a model. If you remember, let me just bring back the references. Okay, like this. I'm in PureRef right now, and you see I still have this cable which is missing, and I think during the second stream I did this part, but very quickly, which was just a mess. Then I just need to redo this shape and adding it to my model, and also this one will be printed as a separate model. Why? Because if I want to paint this part and this part in a different way, it will be easier to do all the paint separately and after gluing everything than just for that. This is not to print something like that, which is very, of course, very easy to do. Yes, Rush, it has been quite complicated for me recently, to be honest. Okay, then to do this small shape, let me just leave the references. You see, this is quite simple. I will do some ZBrush. Let me switch with one mesh, not this one. I will just start with a classic. Let me display the polyframe, initialize, and I will select my quick cube. Okay. And what I want to do is to have this shape like that with an opening. I will do some kind of Boolean operations. Oh, sorry, I don't know why, but I have a problem with my keyboard or my mouse, I don't know, but the right-click menu is just popping up quite a lot, which is for me very annoying. Then sorry about that. And let me just put some symmetry like this. And let me rotate like that. Like this. The problem is now my symmetry is not on the good axis, and let me do that on the other side. And let me put just going up like this, and I will extrude the bottom part with the Z modeler, cube mesh with polygroup island or flat island. It will be the same like that. Oh, perhaps not wide enough. This, because I have no idea about the size of this wire, I mean whatever the wire, but I guess I will go to 3 millimeters, but leaving some gap because for whatever reason it's not wide enough. I will be able to use my Dremel, I don't know how to say that in English, Dremel in French. You know, this this drill utility, which is very convenient. Just to increase the size of the hole. But you see, if now I'm trying to smooth that, it's not the best shape ever. Then I will just insert some edges very quickly, just to keep my model like that. It may be rounded a little bit more. I don't think it's a really big deal. Okay, let's say it will be okay like this. And now what I need to do, of course, is the hole inside. Then for this hole, let me insert let me insert a cylinder 3D, which is of course way too big. Let me rotate 90 degrees, scale down, then scaling on one axis. This, okay, and like I said before, I want to have a hole of 3 millimeters. And I don't know if you remember, but I'm working with scales. If I go back to this model, I mean the current working model, let me switch back to transpose. And if I'm looking at the length, the high, you see I'm right now at 2.9997 blah blah blah, which is obviously 3. And when I will export my model, I will multiply everything to 100 by 100, sorry, to have 300 millimeters. I'm working in millimeters. Then if I want to have a hole of 3 millimeters, it needs to be 0.03 for the size. Then if I'm going back to my temporary model, where are you? Which one was it? No, not this one. Come on, where are you? Which one? This one. Okay, and I need to have my cylinder to be 0.03. And if I'm looking at the size right now, my cylinder is 0.28. Ah, too big. Then what I can do is centering like that, go back to transpose and changing this size to be 0.03. Okay, let's say 0.29, okay, like this. Then this is the size of what needs to be my cylinder. Then let me solve that and scaling down. And you see if I'm scaling in, I'm doing that in multiple, like that. See, I'm trying to be accurate as much as possible. It's a little bit more, but also what you can do is going in geometry. You have size and what? Oh, exports. No, it's at 0.1. Ah, you know why? I'm stupid. If I want that to be 0.03, I mean, right now I'm looking at the size in between. This is a red, I don't know how to say that. Half of the diameter. I'm sorry, I don't know in English. The radius, yeah, the radius being at 0.15. Sorry, that's stupid of me. I need to scale down. Sometimes you see it's tricky to change the size. Like I said before, geometry, and you see why I have 0.1. I should have the value in fact of my model to be, oh, this one. Okay, sorry. X and Y, then I can put 0.03 by, oops, sorry, and that by 0.03. which will be exactly the same. Then you can use transpose if you want, but you can set some values here. And you see that it's quite difficult for ZBrush sometimes to be very, very accurate for such model. Then this one, of course, is too big as well. Then let me scale down to fit the 0.031. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Okay, like this. Let me remove the symmetry and scale it down. Like this, a little bit more. Okay. And it should be at the good size now. You see, this is quite some steps, but it's important to do this kind of modification. And now what I need to do as well is to be sure that I will be able to fit this model inside of the model. I mean, this part, just when I will want to plug it, when done, just inside the other one. But to do so, I will just doing a negative Boolean operation with a little bit of increasing the scale, just to have a small gap. And I will just glue everything with some crazy glue or super glue to do all of that. Rotary tool, thank you, Bazooka Plasma. Hi Doug, hello Polyfusion. Okay, then to do this model, I can do my Boolean operation now because I don't need to keep all of that. I can smooth a little bit this one to have a nice hole if needed. Then Subtool, Boolean, and let me just go to live Boolean mode. This shape as a negative one, and now I can do my make Boolean mesh. But I forgot to enable the dynamic subdivision. Let me redo again. Okay, and then this is my result, like this. Okay, I will convert that to Dynamesh because I will sculpt a little bit all around this hole to have something a little bit rounded. And I don't like to have very sharp edges. For 3D printing, sometimes it can bring the need of a support for just few microns. Geometry and Dynamesh. Obviously, the resolution, the default one would be, you see, way too small. You see, and at 3, or let me go up to the maximum. Okay, let me hide my polyframe. And you see, this model will be like this scale on the lightsaber, then it's not a big deal if it's too small. Let me just increase slightly like that. Okay, and where are you, my trim dynamic brush? Just doing a little bit, just to smooth slightly, nothing crazy. It's not that needed, but again, I like doing things the best way. At least what I'm considering the best way. That. I should have used my symmetry. And you see, this is a hard surfaces model, but oops, I have a small hole here. I'm not accurate. It's not because I don't want to, but this model is not a brand new model. It has been used quite a lot. It's not in good shape, and it's not a big deal at all. Okay, I'm done like this. Okay, ready. Oh, what I will do is I will slightly move that down like that. Let me center this, and I will scale it a little bit like that and like that. Okay, then model is done. I can subtool, copy. Now go back to my model here. Oops, where are you? Like that. Let me remove the live Boolean and my references. I just keep it just for me. You know, Bazooka Plasma is writing in the chat probably is way beyond printer resolution. If you print for FDM, yes. If you print for SLA, sometimes you're very surprised about how accurate can be the printer. And also this model will be big, and it won't be so small a part. You see, the tube is 3 millimeters, then the shape will be something like 5 millimeters, 5-6 millimeters, which is not that small in fact. Then you will see this kind of rounded shape a little bit. And sorry, I like just refining my model like this, and perhaps this is a bad habit for me. Let me pass my model, which is, I don't know, where are you, my model? Solo here. Okay, like that. Let me rotate. Okay, like this, and where they are just on the side. Let me duplicate this one, which is approximately here, and on the side it's aligned with one of the tube. The tube, I mean this kind of shape here, then it should be roughly like that. And I want to be aligned with this line here. And now to be sure that the angle is quite good. And I think it's a little bit too big what I did. It's very difficult to know, but oh no, not that big. I thought it was too big. Then I won't use the original one. This one I will delete it. Okay. And this one I will duplicate it. The second one is here. In fact, it's a little bit, the width, it's a little bit too much. But well, I don't really care, to be honest. Like that. The other one where it is halfway, duplicate here, and oops. So I'm looking at that one. Okay, because the live boolean is not in. So I was looking at that, and in fact this is a negative mesh. If I put the live boolean, sorry, it's just doing the cut. That's why I was concerned of the quality of my model here, sorry. And now the next one is on the side here, but it will be quite too big. Ah, damn. Okay, when you are doing something wrong, you are doing it until the end. Then I will need to modify slightly this one, because I will have a hard time fitting my model. Or what I can do is just a little bit of tricking the model, which will be a little bit different, because you see this one is a separate part. I think my 3mm are a little bit too big. Then I will trick a little bit like that. This one will be different from the others. Yeah, sorry, it won't be 100% screen accurate. I'm sorry for that, which was my original goal. But sometime, not possible. But well, with the cable on top of everything, I think it should be okay. Then this one, let me go back to solo mode, and I will use my clip curve. And let me switch back to let me hide this mesh. Yeah, now what I want to do is to slightly clean it. Not cleaning, but avoiding this kind of shape like that. These few degrees of angle won't be visible at all. It's not a big deal. Just dynamesh my model. Okay. Should be fine. No, I won't. I won't print the wire. I will just use a real one that I will, yes, insert inside all of that. And inside, here you have two wires as well that I will just glue inside. I won't deal with that, obviously. Okay, then let's say this part is okay. Now I want to just doing the negative part for the these 4 items like that. Then let me go back here and I will duplicate all of them. Then duplicate this one and I will move it down. Second one, duplicate, moving down. Third one, duplicate, moving down. And the fourth one, duplicate, moving down. Then I should have, let me display the polyframe, which will be easier. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we'll merge them just down, just to have one mesh. Merge down. Yes, I know it's not undoable. Down, down. Okay. Now you see I have these 4 parts which are splitted, not separate subtools. And I duplicated them to be just one part and I merge all together. Why? Because with this one now, what I want is just to do this opening here to be able to, when it will be printed, just to just doing the assembly of both parts and having a small gap in between. Because if I'm just hiding all of them like that, let me display the polyframe, and this one is a negative mesh, and I enable the live boolean, and you see this is what I will have for my model. But by doing that, the size will be exactly the same, and you need to consider that the resin can shrink a little bit, I mean, whatever the model, you may have some tolerance value to consider, and it's better when you are creating some negative part, just to do a small gap, little bit of it, just to be sure it will fit. And it's easier to add some gap than sanding for quite some time, and especially for small part like this. Then to do that, I will simply, using my deformation, inflate and adding 1. Then perhaps 1, you see, is a little bit too big. You see it's doing a negative mesh here and here. Let me revert, not reverting, but displaying my models on top. I put that on top like this. You see, like that, you see the gap, but the gap is a little bit too big. Oops, sorry. But you say, hey, but so what? You did an inflate of -1. The problem is, how can you avoid all of that? Let me switch back, and why I can't do my Ctrl Z? Okay, sorry. Then if you want to do an inflate which is not 1, but let's say half of 1, 0.5, this is a trick, which is kind of stupid, but it's working fine. First you go in Morph Target and you store a Morph Target. Now I'm going to Deformation. I will do my inflate of 1, like this, and you see it's quite too big. And now I can go back in my Morph Target, and you see you have the values between one or the values. You can switch between this one and this one. But if you changing your value like that, at 100% you are reverting to the original one. At 0, this is the new model. But if you put 0.5, you are just in between. Like that you can have a better control on your model. I'm removing the solo mode, and you see the gap here. Now I can, in real time, changing the thickness of this gap and see what will be the result on this area. I need to be very careful. In fact, I'm way too close, I think, for this one here, because I will have this kind of shape which is not good. And 0.5, yeah. You see I have my gap, and probably I will send that a little bit when I will do my model. And in fact, what I will do is I need to move my model a little bit on the side. I think this is still way too close. Then this one, let me move a little bit, and going to my negative mesh, that. Let me move it as well. No, not you. Where are you, my gizmo? Does it working? Okay, it's working. Sorry. I was looking at where was my mesh. Okay, let me remove my solo mode. But you know what? I will redo my negative model here, because you see I moved this one, but I'm not really sure about what I'm doing. Let me just solve that. This one I will hide it. I will do a delete hidden, geometry modify topology, and delete hidden. And I will just redo this one here, duplicate like that, and again it will be a negative mesh like this, and this one, because it's a negative one, I will do like before, morph targets, store deformation inflates by 1 like this, and it's okay, but like I said before, 0.5 should be enough. And morph target, roughly, let's say 43 is okay. I don't know, I don't remember if it was okay for the other one. Not really. And morph target, where are you, morph target? Sorry, because I was playing with the setting globally, but I didn't check this one. And you know why? Because I deleted my my mesh, I lost my morph target on this model. Then I need again to delete stirring, deformation, inflate 1. Why it doesn't work? Ah, masked. Okay. And I will look at the chat in 2 seconds, because I'm really in what I'm doing right now. Okay, like this. Okay, done. I'm sorry, it has been way longer than I was expecting to do this kind of shape. Subtool. And just want to revert this one. Let me save. $18. Okay. Hey, Thomas. But the wire, going through that way, and for me, this problem is more to go inside, which is missing. You think that the block will stop it? Ah, yes, you're right. Correct. Shit. I will find a trick. Sorry, I won't redo it for now. I will find a trick for that. Okay, now let's prepare everything. Sorry, I'm looking at the time, and again, I said it took me too much time to do all of that. Doug, no, I will do everything with the Form2, not FDM. Definitely not FDM. In fact, now I'm using the FDM only to do draft of things that I want to print, to check for the scale and things like that. But as soon as it's, let's say, I need accuracy and something which is easy to work on it as soon as it has been printed, just for the post work, I prefer by far going through SLA and using my Form2 by far. Yeah, definitely. Okay, then let's do that part by parts. Then this part is fine, like this. This one, let me solo it. Like I said before, I want to remove some material. It will be very simple. I will just do a tube inside, and I will print it from bottom to top. Let's say it will be printed like that on my printer, because I really want to have all the supports being just being put as much as possible just below. And what I will do later will be to try to sand enough, because what I need to consider as well will be printing my models and checking where I will have overhangs, which is very, very important when it comes to support. Then this mesh, I will insert, like before, a simple cylinder 3D, which is obviously way too big. And I'm in solo mode, which is not a good idea. Let me hide everything else except this one and this one. And oops, not you, please. Come on. And this one will be a negative mesh. Let me bring back the live Boolean. And okay, this is, of course, the depth is too much. Like this. And you could say, oh, Thomas, you should increase the thickness of your model, of your cylinder, because you have enough space, and you know that the Form2, whatever the printer, is able to have a minimum wall thickness of 0.4 millimeters. Yes, but I prefer spending a little bit more resin in my model to be sure it will working fine, than just trying to avoid spending just using an extra 4 milliliters of resin just by trying to saving this 4 milliliters or 5 milliliters. I mean, for that model, just increasing or reducing a little bit won't change a lot. It will just increase the risk of failure when you are printing. Also, I could create a kind of internal cylinder inside just for this part to save some resin as well, to be sure it will fit more my shape. But yes, I will save a little bit more resin on this part. But if I'm doing something like that, the risk is to have a suction cup on your model, where the resin will need to go through and won't be able to do it. And having suction cup is the best way to have failure with your printer, whatever the printer. Then this is very important. Then I'm doing that to save some resin, but I won't do too much because it's not that needed. Okay. Then this part for me is, let's say, almost ready to be printed. And this one is okay. You see this one below. The part will go through perfectly. Should be, at least, I hope. Let me go back on top. Then this one. Let me just hide this and this. Okay, this one. Then I have this big tube here, which go on top, and I will print it. You see, this is the bottom part where you have the part I just hide, the bottom part of the hilt of the lightsaber, and this one will be connected on the top where you have this kind of T shape, plus shape. And I will print my model. This part will be the bottom part to have the support as much as possible on this location. Why? Because it will be just plugged to the top part, and it will be easy to send this part before gluing. Then the support, I mean, won't be a problem, just to be removed and sent. Then and the top will be here on the opening. But again, let me just move that to the top. I need to do, you see, having this big opening. How I did that? This is this big shape, which is a negative one. Let me solo it. You see the one I was explaining at the beginning, which is a very basic, oops, sorry, cylinder, which has I extruded and just reshape a little bit to be as close as possible to from my model. Let me remove my solo mode, and I applied a little bit of dynamic subdivision, and now I have a very nice tube which will save quite some resin. Okay, and I need to have, where are you, the other one, then this you know, this shape, and this one for the wire connector. The wire connector here will be a separate mesh, not this one, this one. Where are you? On top, this one, this one, this one. Then I will keep them as separate subtools. What I will do is I will create just for now a start group, just to be sure that they will be perhaps created just one shape, but I will just export them individually at the end. And I have also this shape here. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Here. Like that. Why are you not negative? Because I have this model which should be a negative one. Why it's not negative? Something, oh, it's not on the good group. Okay, now it's negative, and you see I have a thickness problem. My thickness inside was too big, and it will be problematic then. It means that for this big tube I did before, I'm too close to the surface. Then I need to scale it down a little bit. Then I will use my Gizmo 3D. And when you are pressing the Alt key and clicking on one of these scale on one axis, it will do a scale along this axis. And it will keep the length of my cylinder, but we just change the scale on the vertical and horizontal axis. And like that, I keep the length of my tube, but I increase the thickness of my model by reducing the scale of this cylinder model at the end. And if you want to check your model and be sure that everything is fine, what you can do, something I'm always doing, is let me insert, where are you? Insert a cube. Cube 3D, where are you? Cube 3D. Cube 3D. And let me move it on the side, and now I define that as a negative model. And if I go through like this, you see I'm able to check my model thickness and do what my printer will do when it will print my model like that. Then I'm able to check everything until the end. That this is a good trick when you want to check your model like this. You can just in few clicks see, trying to evaluate what your printer will do. In fact, it won't be like that, but more on the side, because you are printing in fact with some angles, and it should be more something like this. Because I need to consider as well when I will print. In fact, your printer we'll do something like that. Start to print this shape, and when it will grow like this, and then you can see where the part will start to grow. Then I will need to have some support just to connect the base of my model. In fact, on the build plate, you will need to have a kind of raft which will be connected to the support and connected to the model. Then you need to have some support here. And as soon as you have some part which will start to grow alone, just let's say in the air, you need to have some extra support. And then you can see like that what the printer will need to have, like this. And you can check all of that. Then each time I have a part which starts to grow, I know that I will need to have at least a few supports for my model. And if you look at that, this part here, because of this small, let me just zoom in. I don't know, perhaps it will be okay, but when you have this this kind of inset inside, you see, like this small part will start to grow without being connected to the other part. Then you need to have just a support to start with. And that's why it's very important to check about all these kind of things. But unfortunately, there is no workaround when you have this kind of lines, except tweaking your design and be sure you don't have straight line, but having a kind of bevel to have a kind of continuity of surface, to do some kind of wave shapes and not just angles like that. Is the stream okay in terms of frame rate? Because it seems to be going up and down in terms of quality for me. Just let me know in the chat, please. Okay, let me delete my cube because I don't need it anymore. Okay, then for me this tube is okay. Just need to be optimized with Boolean stuff. This part, let me display the polyframe, which is a Boolean, resulting Boolean of this metallic part that I did in a previous stream. And you see I have this small gap. I don't know if you see it. Just in between, I have a small gap like that to have everything just fitting together. Okay, this one is okay. Now I need to work on the top parts. Okay, this one. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. I will do it just for the next one. Okay, this one as well. Let me solo it. And this one will be printed again from the bottom to the top, to be sure that the support will be just below. What I want to do is to remove some material inside this big part here. Then I will, like before, inserting a cube. See, it's always the same thing. There is nothing very, let's say, complex. The process is, again, let me hide everything else. I just want to reduce it a little bit. But I learned that I know it's important to save some resin, but I know by experience that trying to save too much will bring, in fact, more trouble. Now let's switch that to be a negative mesh. Okay, I want to go to this size, but I want to save a little bit more because you see this is quite, the size is a little bit more important on this area. this is only until this part, which is, I want to keep a small gap here. To be sure, when I will plug everything, it will just fit together. But the thickness here is quite important. Now let me solo my model. Okay, like that. And, oops, sorry, which side? This side, transparency. Okay, like this. And I will create a polygroup with that, Ctrl W. Like this. And I think it should be fine. And I will okay, sorry, I was thinking at the same time. Let me use my QMesh and polygroup island, just to be like that. Is it too big or not? No, should be okay. Perfect. Like this, but I want to have some transition in between. Then I will just slide this edge loop complete, like that, and I will add a small bevel. Okay, now I can apply a dynamic subdivision, remove my transparency, my polyframe, and this is what I have so far. Then you see I have the gap which will just end here and having a transition. What I will do after I will be done with the Boolean operation, I will probably smooth a little bit all around my edge, but I don't really think it's needed for my model. Okay, and again I have a continuity, I have a big hole. Then this part again is ready to be printed. I just want to go back to this one like this, because I need also to have an opening in between if I want to have some wires or whatever going through my model. Then why this one is okay. This, and what I will do, this cylinder I just did before, no, it's not the same, then not a good idea. Insert cylinder, nothing new. This, like this, being negative. This is quite too big now. And it will let me check the thickness of the top part, which is quite thin. And perhaps I need to move it down, off. I don't know, it will be at least a few millimeters, and it should be okay. And let me increase the scale. Like this, and dynamic subdivision, and that should be okay. Okay, perfect. This one is okay. Then now just I have the connector I need to work on, and I have this big part, and I can hide everything else because it should be good. Where are you? Where is my switch? Oh, hidden. And why it's going on top like that? What did I? What's wrong? Okay. Now I have the opening, but I need to remove it from the part which is just below. Then let me duplicate this model, duplicate, moving, just go down. like this, and again I will increase a little bit the scale of this negative one, same as before. Always the same workflow. Store morph target and deformation inflates 1 and morph targets put 0.5. Oh, no, I will keep it like this. It will give me quite some tolerance. Okay, then like I said before, what I want to do, this is now more the tricky part. I need to be very careful. I want to do separate this part here, because you see, if I want to print my model, let's say from this angle, I will need to have support just, oh, let me show you that. It will be, I think, more easy to understand if I show that. Let me insert, like before, cube, which will be negative, and I will give some angle to this cube, because again my print will be printed with some angle. And okay, going from the top, no, I said something wrong. My support will be on the bottom. Sorry. Okay. Okay, let's say I print my model like that from the bottom, and you see everything which is growing. Of course, I don't have the part inside. Then you see what I need to consider as well is all these edges. Not these edges, but yes, this is edges of my model, which will need to grow as well. And I need to be very careful, because I may have some very edge which will start like that. I need to be very careful. Okay, it's growing. Okay, fine so far. And all this part, and I will trick a little bit after, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, you see, when I will start to do this kind of vents, I don't know the name, bottom part should be okay, but as soon as you will start, you see, I'm trying to see where it's growing. This one is still okay, but if I want to print this edge like that, it will be very small without support, and it will break each time a layer is done, because the printer will peel the current part from everything else. Then I need to have a support to help this one. And now you see, if I want to print this one is alone, need to have multiple support, at least 2 support. But this support will be connected to what? To something which is below. Then the risk is to have your support be connecting to that and just being connected to the bottom part of your model. Then you will need to send this part, but also this part below, which will have some support. Then that's why it can be very tricky. And because I have multiple extrusion like that, all of them will need to have support. Then for this part, probably I will need to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 multiplied by 2, at least 20 supports just for that. And it will be a problem. And that's why it's important for me just to going here and trying to print this inside part separately. Then to do that, what I will do is I will create a small opening here, not opening, but creating a cylinder without the cap on top, and creating a very small thickness that I will put inside. Then it will create a kind of negative shell inside. I don't know if it makes sense. You will see that just in action. But this time I will start with Polymesh 3D. No, I will start with my primitive cylinder 3D. Like that, and I will prepare everything for now. Initialize, and I will reduce that, and let's say 16 for now, and I will make a Polymesh 3D. Then this cylinder 3D is ready. I can go back to my model. Okay, and subtool, and I will append this cylinder. Yeah, this one. And I will start where is, sorry, I need to look at my grid. Where is my X? Okay, so I was looking where is my X axis to put my model on this side. Like that, after I will be able to do my mirror and weld on the other side. But to do that, you need to be on the positive side of the axis. That's why I need to work on this side. Okay, rotate. Then I will try to align as much as possible. Okay. And then you will understand what I'm trying to do. Like this, I'm trying to find the good direction. Okay. And now I will do an insert. Oops, sorry. Insert a single edge loop, very, very small one, like this. And I will, oops, let me solo my model. Let me select all these edges. I'm pressing the Alt key, and I will use my extrude, a single polish, just to go until the end. I'm trying to be close to my model. Or you see, this is very difficult to go through. Then I would like to have a really a constant thickness. Then what I can do is not doing what I did just so far, but selecting my delete polygon, deleting all these polygons. Like that. And now I will go in geometry, edge loop, and you have the panel loop, which so far is doing this kind of shape on my model because I have some polish. And if I do now my panel loops, you see it's doing something like that. The good thing about panel loops, it's doing a constant extrusion on your model. And you can define if you want to have your elevation between being on one side or the other side. I want to have a negative elevation, and I want to have just a single loop. And you see like this, it's doing your panel like that. But we have a bevel. I don't want a bevel. Then panel, and now you see like this. And I want to reduce my thickness as much as possible. You see like that, even more. I want to be very, very, very thin. I don't want to have a lot of tolerance for the model. Okay, like this. And I will insert some edge loop to try to keep this shape. Come on, ZBrush. I don't know why sometimes ZBrush can be very annoying in terms of edges. Okay, now I can slide it, probably. Slide, edge loop. And you know what? I can do even something better. I can, using my crease edges, which would be way easier. Crease edge loop complete. Let me smart sometime. Sometimes I'm not smart at all when it comes to these kind of things. In fact, I'm not a big user of the crease edges, and that's why I always forget about the crease edges, which is a mistake, because this is very convenient. Okay, now I can put my dynamic subdivision, and let me remove my solo mode. You see, like that. And this mesh, I want it to be negative, but it needs to be as part of this group of model. Okay, negative. And you see, I've been able to do this cut through my model. Of course, the depth is not enough, You see this is the bottom, but at least I know where it will slice my model. I can increase the scale a little bit to be perhaps closer to this model, or just there. In fact, it's not very important because, yeah, I have this this small opening, but I prefer to have some gap, being able to glue that perfectly, and when I will be done gluing in, just adding some putty to fill the hole and sanding will be very easy. Then it will be very easy, sorry, to hide this kind of cut. The problem you see so far, it's too it needs to go behind my model. Then what I can do is going to solo mode and let me hide everything except that one, and now I can just going to the bottom and behind. Then I need to go behind my model because I really want to cut everything all around, but I need to 0.2 to cut quite enough my model. Now I can do a mirror and weld to do on the other side, but what I will do first is I will duplicate this one with the mask. I will do a rotation of 90 degrees and I will use it as well for this one. Like this, being negative as well. It seems to be center enough, but I think it's the depth is too important. Okay, like this. Okay, and now I can go back to the other one and doing my mirror and weld. And now I have these openings. Okay, then what I will do when I will be done with my Boolean operation is, of course, it will be just one shape. I'm just doing a small slice all around my model, but I will just need to split my parts to be just separate subtools, and then I will be able to print all of that. Hi, Oxart, I don't know how to pronounce your nickname. Okay. Then for me it was the trickiest part for my model, to be honest. Now it's mainly doing the opening for inside, having some small holes to avoid using too much material. Let me look at the time. Okay, I'm on time. Great. Okay, let me add some cylinders to do the opening inside here. Cylinder, where are you? Cylinders. I will go there. Okay, insert. I will select again this Polymesh 3D cylinder because this is quite a simple one. Okay, you are negative. You see, we see the opening here. You see. Then I have enough thickness for my model. And also another reason to do this hole, it will allow me to have enough room if I need to go through some wires for my model. Okay, save ZBrush, save. Okay, and what I can do as well is going through everything, going through my model. Okay, I have my opening. Obviously, it won't be enough. I need to increase the size because I don't want to use so much material. Oh, let me duplicate as well this one, doing a 90 degrees rotation and doing the same there. Like this, negative. Okay. Anyway, it's always easier to fill something which is empty, that with something when the print will be done, than trying to drill everything after. Okay, let me just go back to my ZBrush brush and increase this edge and this one as well. Okay. And I think I will increase a little bit. Insert. The problem with symmetry in ZBrush, when you have your model like that, sometimes it's difficult to find not the symmetry. It was still X, but it wasn't working because my the cylinder doesn't have a center line. That's why the symmetry sometimes doesn't work how you should expect it to work. Transparency, solo mode. Okay, trying just to, you see I have the hole, but I want to increase the size of my extrusion to go to be closer to the shape, just also to save some resin. Let me do a mirror and weld to recenter everything, and then I can do a QMesh polyloop and define a loop which is perpendicular to my model, like that. And like before, let me just do a bevel. I like to have some transition, soft transition. For printing, it's always better to have as much as possible soft transition when you don't need to have something visible. Just to avoid some sharp edges which may require some useless support, let's say. And I'm trying as much as possible to avoid supports if I can, because they are really painful. I mean, it's the way it's working. It's not a problem with the support themselves, but sometimes, yeah, it's better to add some edge loops or things like that than trying to smooth or polish or sand, etc., etc. Okay, then this one is okay. And when, oops, you see it was too much for the center part. Then what I will do is I will QMesh just down like that, and let me remove this edge which is useless. See, I'm very, very, very close for the inside part. That what I can do eventually is insert an edge loop, and there. Okay, but again, what I will do, I will bevel my model, and here let me remove this edge. Insert. You see, I have this nice transition in between. Okay. Oh, you see why it's important to check again? You see, my opening, it will be just below the opening. Then I may need perhaps to change the height of this cut tool, which is this one. Like that. Okay, and now what I need to do is to do the same for this one, because you see this is quite some material that I will need here. And okay, this is this one. And I need to increase its size from roughly there. There, and then I can, same as before, no. Something like that. And same as before, beveling, beveling. Let me insert an edge here. Come on. Okay, then let's check everything. Okay, that's quite a big hole on this area. I need to move that back. Okay, then I have enough thickness, but I think that solo. Okay, the opening. Okay. Okay, then so far I think all the parts are done and ready. I hope I'm not forgetting something. Then before going to the next step, let's save that. What time is it? Okay, I have 1 hour and a half to do everything else, which should be okay. Okay, then now what I need to do is to process all the Boolean operation of my model to have all the parts ready, ready to be exported. I mean, at least optimized first and after exported. And you see I start to have quite some subtool. Let me just clean all of that. Let me delete that one. Sorry, I'm just deleting stuff which is for me probably useless. Which one is what? This one. I saved it before. Delete, delete, delete. Sorry, just cleaning everything. Delete. Okay. Then let me process everything to be sure that everything is all right. Let me remove this useless cube. Where are you, the cube? Okay, this one. Okay, before going to the next step, I need to be sure that all my groups are okay. When I mean all my groups is all of these start groups. That I have all the parts before processing them. I'm sorry, I just reply in French quickly. Charlotte, le plus simple, c'est que tu m'envoies un email à thomasroussel@polysculpt.com ou tu vas sur polysculpt.com et tu remplis le formulaire. Et là, je pourrais te répondre par email. Là, je peux pas le faire sur un chat qui est, on va dire, entièrement en anglais. Sorry, I was replying to a French question. Okay, then let me hide everything. Then this group. Again, top part, all the parts are here, -1. Okay. Oops, sorry. I have this one as -1 and this tube. Okay, this one is okay. Now let's go back to this one. This is all the connected part, which should be okay as well. Now you have just this single pin. I don't know how to name that. Here. Where are you? Here, this one, which has been processed previously. Now I have this bottom part with the opening, like this. And now this one, which is again alone, which has been done previously. And this one that I just finished few minutes ago. Okay, and now what is this one? This tube. You see something is wrong because I have, oh, this is a button by itself. Okay, and now the top part, not the top part, but this one. Okay, then everything seems to be okay. Now I can process all my Boolean operations like this, and I should have multiple groups. Okay, and what I need to do, of course, is to go in Boolean. I'm clicking on this dynamic subdivision because multiple negative meshes have the dynamic subdivision enabled. And let's wait a little bit, and sorry, I will stop talking before it will break up the stream. Okay, then there is, you see, sometime it can happen. This is the first time I had that during the live stream, ZBrush Live, that the Boolean operation may have some issues. It can happen if your input meshes had some topology issues like double edges or primary faces. It can happen with Dynamesh objects sometime, when you have very, very small part. Then let me check the result. Okay, I guess this is this one. Yes, I have all the parts. Then to process that, let me switch another brush. You have in the render, you have render Boolean, and then you have the show issues here, and you see on my model, the current one, solo, you see, you have all these small edges. It shows some warning that you may have some topology issues. You see, on all these edges. That's why this is a very good way to see what's going on or not. And sometimes it can happen on, you see, a lot of small issues. In a way, I don't really care because I will do a Dynamesh of everything at the end. It's not that I don't want to export my my Boolean operation, but again, I will need perhaps to smooth some areas before 3D printing. It will be easier to smooth the Dynamesh than the Boolean operation. And for this one, it's okay. These are okay. This one, whoops, a lot of stuff. What is it? Oh, inside. Okay, no problems. Boolean operation, Booleans. Dynamesh should be fine. Let's just check with Dynamesh. If I go with geometry, just doing this one at least, just to check. Dynamesh. Okay, I need to increase the resolution, of course. You see, at this stage, this is my Dynamesh. I have quite a lot of polygons, 300,000 just for that. not a problem. I will use Decimation Master after for everything, and at this size it will be something like this size, and it will be just perfect. I will just increase a little bit the resolution, even more. What is at the maximum? Okay, now because I have this part inside, I don't like all this kind of stuff. Then perhaps I will just smooth a little bit, and it won't be visible for the 3D printing process, but it may create some edges which may be problematic. That's why it's important to fix your model as much as possible. Oh, you know why? I think this model was not really connected to the bottom part below. You see, just smoothing a little bit. Again, it's very important to spend a little bit of time. It's better to spend 1 hour of extra pre-work just to smooth and checking your topology, optimizing, than having a failed print or something which goes wrong, because it will bring you way more frustration. You see I'm doing that just multiple times. Just enough to fix all these edges, and because Dynamesh can be very tricky when it's very close like that to some areas. Okay, now it should be okay like this. And because it's a Dynamesh, if I want to polish some part, just not really polishing but using my trim dynamic brush, it will be not really brand new. It will be more natural anyway. Then the idea is to check everything like this. And I prefer doing that manually than trying to do a bevel before, because again, like I said, this lightsaber is not brand new. Then I think it's better to have edges which doesn't look like too clean. And to be honest, I prefer using brushes like that than doing hard surfaces. I'm more an organic modeler than hard surfaces. But for me, doing this kind of project is great to go outside of your comfort zone. Even if my next project will be some figurine again. I don't know what I will sculpt next week or the week after. But it will be again some figurines, perhaps not as big as the 2B one I did, but trying to do something which will be very dynamic, I hope. I won't do everything like that for all the part, but at least showing you that Dynamesh can be great after to polish and finish, doing some finishing aspect to your model. Oops. I don't like when it's too hard surfaces. Okay. Just need to look at that one because I didn't smooth it before. Yeah, I think when I inserted these mesh insert models, they didn't really intersect with the model below. That's why I had all these edges. in error because they've been, I think, very close, like coplanar faces. And coplanar faces are not something that Boolean operation really likes, whatever the software, in fact, not only ZBrush. And it's very easy to do coplanar faces with insert meshes, because you insert them really on top of existing polygons. I'm doing my second stage of smoothing. Okay, then this part should be for me okay. Let me look at the edges all around. This one is okay. And no, not that one. Okay. Then let me go back to the other subtool. This one, you see all these edges as well are in error, but again, should be okay. Let me, same as before, Dynamesh. Okay. I'm just looking at some angle that I may have. Then I will tweak slightly by breaking some angle from below. To do some kind of continuity as much as possible. And it will give a less natural look to my shapes. Of course, I can do that after with some sanding paper, but like that it will be already done. This is mainly this kind of angle which are not, I mean, I prefer to avoid. Because if I give some angle to my print when I will print it, it will do a kind of continuity with what I have below, then it's better. Sorry, it's not very easy to understand when you never try to print before, but trust me, it's better. And you will see that later, I mean, as soon as I will export this model in Preform for all of that. Yeah, I can smooth slightly all of that. Which is not needed because this part won't be visible. This is just more for me because, again, I prefer to avoid some angles. Because sometimes you may need to have a support just for a very, very teeny part of your model, which may be annoying. Then it's better to smooth and avoid all of that. And of course, when you are smoothing with a lot of polygons, it's not very fast. I should switch to the smooth from brush, but well. Okay, this one is, oh no, I wanted to break slightly that. And you see when you are using the tuning brush with a small radius, it can be sometimes, how can I say that, not very consistent. And that's why I'm using on top of that the H polish brush, which will refine all of that. Okay, Then next one. These one are okay. I won't really change them except doing some marks here and there, not for all of them, but you see, just like that. Wow. Shit. How did I switch to leave the edit mode? Come on. Of course, you can add some scratch and all these things, because even if the resin is great to work on with some tools, it's sometimes a lot easier to do all this scratch before than directly inside of ZBrush. If you watch or have been there for my Kylo Ren helmet, I did most of the, almost all of the scratch on my 3D model, and it's visible and perfectly fine on my 3D print. Then I didn't have to rework on all of that. Okay, let me do some stuff on top, but because all of that will be, trust me, it will be visible. Even if you print at 100 microns, it will be it will do the difference, and it will look less symmetrical, less perfect, let's say. No, it doesn't like raise topology here. Okay, let's say it's okay for now, because you see I worked on the model with the Boolean. I didn't do the Dynamesh before, then I will do the Dynamesh as well. I should have done that before, but anyway. Let me use the up cracked brush. See, doing some because it will be visible, trust me. You see, when you have this doing a stroke and you do another one, let me just like that, you see you have a continuity. It's because in the stroke palette, in the lazy mouse, you have the lazy snap, which is at a positive value. If you put at 0, it won't try to snap with the previous stroke that you did. Okay, let's say it's okay for now. This one, it seems that yet almost no errors. Okay, then what I want to do now is to split, you see, this part separately, to be sure that everything is just one mesh and everything else another mesh. Then what you can do is just making some polygon visible, and you see the system is detecting the opening. That means the render just remove the show issues. And in visibility, you can do a Ctrl Shift X. If I remember, I do that without thinking. X, which increase, you see the visibility of the polygons, but all the polygons which are a continuity. And if I'm not wrong, if I did that well, this part inside shouldn't be a continuity because I split everything before. Then let me do a grow all. Okay, like this. And you see everything has been grow. Whoa, I don't like this thickness here. Shit. I think the thickness is a little bit too... Anyway, you see, I have this part now and this part. Then the split worked fine. Oh no, it's okay. I have enough thickness and enough thickness. Then subtool, I can do splits visible, split hidden, sorry. Then I have this part and these parts, which will be which will fit perfectly. You see, this is that one that I don't really like. It seems to be very thin. Okay, what I will do to check that, like before, I will insert a cube as a negative mesh. Let me because by doing that I'm able to check the thickness of my model. Okay, no, it's going down, which is fine. I was very afraid of having a kind of very small thin thickness on this model. Okay, I can delete my cube. Okay, then shit. Shit. You see, oh no, sorry. I thought it was just connected to this one. Okay, it was not the good subtool. Okay, then this subtool seems to be okay. Then, like the others, sorry. I will convert that to Dynamesh to do some refinement. Not subtool, sorry. Geometry, Dynamesh, maximum resolution. To be quite a lot of polygons. Let's wait. Take some time. I don't like that. When you have ZBrush like this, just wait. The problem is I didn't save my work before. Go, ZBrush, go. Oh, okay. Okay, you see what you see right now, this kind of stuff. It's because somewhere you have some edges which are very close to each other or some holes, and the resolution you are asking in fact is smaller than the opening you have, and then ZBrush is lost and doesn't know what I need to do. Let me just Ctrl Z. What you can do as well is to go in mesh integrity, checking the mesh integrity. Mesh should be okay, then there is no reason. Let me just do a close hole just to be sure. It may be taking some time because the mesh is quite heavy. Close hole. It should be okay. There is no hole. Then what I will do is I will reduce the resolution of the Dynamesh. Let's say this one. Okay, this is the same. Then you know what? I think I will work without dynameshing because everything should be okay. I have enough polygon, in fact. I'm just smoothing a little bit these edges. Because again, it will give some continuity, and I hope I won't forget anything. You see all these edges. This is really what I want to kill as much as possible, because this is the bottom part of my model, and everything will grow from this one. Then everything else should be okay. Let me just go around. Oh, this one. Let me use my clay fill brush. Like this. I won't do everything, just some parts. Going around. Sorry, sometimes I'm stuck talking because I'm listening to some music and I'm always forgetting that you don't have the music. Then it may look very empty for you, may feel empty. Okay, save my project. Okay, this one, not these edges. Of course, I'm very careful about not adding some edges or things on this area, because it will be where the other part I split before will connect then. I need to be very, very careful about not adding everything. Okay, I need to do just the top a little bit. Okay, let's say this one is for now okay. Subtool. Then the switch. Oh, very few polygons. Let me dynamesh that, but increasing the resolution quite a lot. Okay. Now this part is quite okay because I did it before. Oh, pinch. I didn't understand why I had so weird effects. Now I understand why. Okay, then let me check. Everything should be fine now, I think. Oh, this one. Let me just go back to my render and show issues. No, it should be okay for everything. Okay, no, this one. This one I need to dynamesh it as well. It will take some time as well. Let me just do quick dynamesh. No, that's okay. $3,000. Okay. What I need to find is the angle I will use to do this one. I will probably print from this side and with this one on the top, then going in this one. Then I need to fix. When I mean fixing, trying to, let's say this one will be a kind of break. on one side, and I hope it will be okay. So I really want to avoid having supports on these. Anyway, it will be the first model we print, this one, at least. Trying to see if everything is fine. Okay. Just doing few edges. Okay, turn up. And if I have some edges, I mean, this kind of shape done by the brush, in fact, it's, let's say, on purpose. I really want to do things which doesn't look, again, too much perfect. I'm very careful when I'm around Boolean operations, like not smoothing too much on working on these edges, because I don't want to break the shape. Perhaps a little bit too much. Okay. Okay, where it was then on the other side. Okay. Then this one should be okay as well. This one is done. These, I don't need to do anything on them except splitting them. Okay, now I'm ready to be to go to the next step, which will be the optimization before 3D printing. Now a command, I'm using ZBrush right now, which is a 3D modeling, sculpting, and painting software from Pixologic. I mean, in fact, our channel is dedicated only to that. And now what I will do, I do split parts. Okay, then I have a subtool for each one. This one, same split parts. And now everything should be as separate models. Okay. Let me save. What I should have done before would be to rename everything, but I hope I don't have duplicated meshes. 14. Let's say main. So I'm quickly renaming that cab holder 1. Clip. Cap. This is a cap. I don't know what is the name of that. No. Cap support, let's say. I don't really care if the name is accuracy or not, but accurate or not, sorry. This is a plasma vent 1. Generator, switch, okay, everything has been named. Sorry, I will just save again to be sure it's fine, but I will overwrite my previous file. Okay, then next step, let me remove my live Boolean, let me remove my render show issues. Okay, then now next step is to optimize everything for 3D printing, not only the scale but the number of polygons. Right now I have 20 millions of polygons for this lightsaber, which is way too much. Even if the software is able to handle them, there is no need to work with so many polygons. And also the next step will be to check for errors, and I know I have some errors on my model. Then if you have few polygons, it will be easier to handle. Okay, now it will take few seconds. Let me open my Z-plugin palettes, Decimation Master, and I will do a pre-process all. Then while it's doing the pre-process, the pre-process is, the idea is to check for all the models, all the parts, the subtools of your model, and looking of the quality of your model from 100% to 0%. And what it will do between this 100% to 0% is to remove just one vertex, one after the other, and to remove the less important one until the end. It will try to ponderate, okay, I need to remove this vertex, is it more important than this one, yes or no? And that's why in fact Decimation Master is very good in terms of quality, because it really checks about the quality of the model, and then it will build for each subtool a kind of temporary mesh, which name is progressive mesh internally for your information, which will be in fact this this kind of library, not a library, but this catalog of vertices, the one after the other, which can be removed from 100% of quality to 0% of quality. And when you decimate and say, okay, I want 20% of quality, then it will read this progressive mesh, which is in fact a temporary mesh, and say, okay, give me 20% of the best quality you can have, and then you have the result model. That's why most of the time you have very good quality, visual quality, while your model in fact has low polygons, because it really tries to keep all the vertices which are needed, let's say on angles or where you have to have small details and things like that. And when you are 3D printing, I mean, there is no need to have so many polygons on areas which are very smooth or with few angles or few details. Then you will see later. So it takes some time because it needs to process about all the subtools, and it needs to process these 20 millions of polygons. Then you see it's doing for each mesh is processing. After it will do this reordering, then reordering all these vertices from 100% to 0%, and then writing this progressive mesh. I don't know if you see this reordering on top, which happens sometime, processing, which is a decimation, and after you should see the reordering. Okay, sorry, this is the part that we need to wait. There is nothing we can do at the same time. Okay, I need to speed up a little bit because I really want to switch to the 3D printing process. Then perhaps I will continue next week, I don't know yet. Come on, come on, come on, come on. When it will be done after, it will be quite fast to optimize for each model individually. But some of them are quite heavy in terms of polygon count. Come on. And you see this cap support, which is here, which is not that big, but it has quite some polygons. Come on. But I can't go to the next steps if I'm not done at this stage. I hope it's the last one. Okay, right to the disk, this temporary mesh. No, more. I need to check my preferences. I think I lower the number of cores for my processor. I don't know, I need to check because it seems to be very slow. I mean, slower than usual. If you have some questions, again, feel free to ask them in the chat. Okay, done. Now, in fact, ZBrush did nothing to my model, just did this kind of analyzing of everything. Then let me go to the first one, the main one. And okay, let me even solo my model. This is what I have so far. Let me put my plugins on the other side. Come on, save. Okay, main one. Then I want, let's say, to go to 200. Oh, I don't know. Yes, 200. 200,000 polygons. In fact, it will generate triangles. And I did the pre-process before. I can just do the decimate current. And okay, now I have just, this is the number of points. Don't forget, it's not the number of polygons. And I have right now 200,000 triangles. And this is a topology that has been generated by ZBrush. And you see, on some areas, you have more polygons, while on these flat areas, you have less polygons. And if I'm just looking at some edges, you see, I polished. You see, this is the result. And so far, it seems to be okay. Let me just increase a little bit. 3000. Okay, now I have more polygons on my model. Let's say for me, this one is okay. Now let's go for that one, which is quite small, but I have 92,000 polygons just for that. Let me go to, okay, not 5,000 polygons. Okay, which is, I think, quite enough. This one, same decimate current. Oops, don't need to do groups. Okay, same. And the last one. I remember this one because it slides slightly on the side. Oops, 5, sorry. Okay, like this, the clip. The clip is again quite heavy, but it should be okay. Let's say I want to have 10,000. You see, it's quite enough. And at this stage, the optimization is quite fast because the pre-process has been done. It's just what it's just doing is just reading this progressive mesh. Let's say 100,000. Yeah, seems to be okay. This one, which is 4 millions just for that. Let's say 200. Perfect. This one, perhaps not 20,000, perhaps 100, let's say. Okay, perfect. Last one, the top one. Okay. Okay, this one is quite big. Let's do the same as the body, 300,000. Okay, done. The switch, which is not that big, doesn't need so much details. Let's say 10. Oh, sorry, I did an undo. Okay, I need to pre-process it. Sorry, I just did a Ctrl Z and okay. Why I can't optimize that one? Okay, I don't know what I did. The plasma generator supports some. Let's go to 100. What? What? Let's redo the preprocess current. I don't know what I do. Model break, yes, it's the same project I started. In fact, a month. I mean, I started. The last part I did was something like a month ago. Sorry, but it has been quite complicated for me to do streams recently. 200, let's say, for that one. Okay. Okay, then now all my models should be done, and you see for everything it's less than a millions of triangle, which is 700. In fact, even half of this size. Now solo. Okay. Then now it has been optimized and I'm ready to leave ZBrush. The only things I think I need to do is to export my model. Then I go in 3D Print Hub, which is a 3D print plugin for ZBrush. And what I need to do first is to update the size ratio, meaning that the plugin needs to know what is the size of my model. And I click on it. Then ZBrush will analyze all the model and ask me, okay, which scale should be your model? And you remember I've been working with units and size in the beginning with a ratio of 1/100, and then I need to multiply by 100. And you see this is the vertical size, which is at 3.01, and I know it would be 30 centimeters or 300 millimeters. Then this is this size. Okay, and now what I want vertically is to export at 300 millimeters. Or what I can do, let me just go back. Sorry, just redoing the operation. I can just simply move the slider a little bit and say, okay, I don't want just moving the points to be like that. And like that, I'm keeping exactly the same scale. And my model, I can export my STL. Then what you need to do is to go in export option and checking that you want to export all the visible one. For me, this is what I want to do, and export to separate files, because I want to have multiple STL files with I mean one file per subtool. How long I've been using ZBrush? For your information, it's been already 10 years that I'm working at Pixelogic. And I started to use that. I mean, I started at 155B for ZBrush. I don't know, 13 years ago, something like that. I don't know exactly, but something like that, yeah. And now I can export my STL files and ask me what I want to do. 3D print, which was my first version. Let's say final and save. And I want to save all my subtools, my STLs, as a subtool name file. Wait a little bit. And while doing that, I will launch another software. And I will leave ZBrush, in fact, at this stage. Okay, my export is done. Then at this stage, I don't need to use ZBrush anymore. I will just leave ZBrush in the background just for, perhaps for some reasons. And now I'm in NetFab Basic. NetFab Basic was originally a software, in fact, originally, it's a software which has been purchased by Autodesk something like 2 years ago. Oh, a year ago, I don't remember. And it's in fact a commercial software, but originally it had multiple versions and a basic one. The basic one has always been a free version. The idea is to check your STL files, your model file, to fix some issues and some extra operations. And now the basic version doesn't exist anymore, but if you download the trial of NetFab, you have the premium features, and at the end of the trial, it becomes NetFab Basic. Then you won't have all the premium function, but you will still have all the function to clean your model, to fix your model. Then it's you can use that for all your usage, then for free. Then really it's software that you need to use when you're doing 3D printing, because you will see that I'm pretty sure that most of my model will have issues. And when you are sending your model to your printer, it needs to be as clean as possible. And when I'm saying about clean and issues, I mean topological issues, that it needs to be watertight, it needs to avoid having, let's say, coplanar faces or vertices which are not connected, small holes and things like that. Then what I will do, I will just import some parts. Let me just like that here, and I have all my models. The problem is you need to load them one by one. Then I will load all of them. See, then need to wait a little bit. Cap support, clip, main. And you see this warning on the side? It's because I have some model which has issues. Plasma support, plasma vent 1, plasma vent 2, 3, and the switch. Okay, and now I'm in the software, and you have all the model which has been listed. Okay, and then you see this warning, meaning that what I loaded, there is some model which has issues, and you see in this list, 2 of them have this small one. It means that these models have potentially some issues that need to be fixed. To do that, you just click on this repair button, this red cross, and you wait a few seconds, and then it displays that some information that right now I have some border edges, meaning it's border of an opening, and I have 3 shells, and more important, 13 holes, which is not good. I should have no holes. Then what you need to do is simply click on this automatic repairs and selecting the default repair script, which is most of the time enough. You wait a little bit, and it has been just doing all this magic behind, and now you see with this automatic repair done, I don't have holes anymore, no border edge, and just 1 shell. Then my mesh is done. I just need to apply the repairs, and NetFab is asking me if I want to keep the old part or just removing the older part and keep the updated one. And of course, I don't want to keep the old one. And same for this plasma generator, same process. And automatic repair, execute. You see I have 2 holes. Now it has been fixed. 0 holes anymore, 1 shell. Everything is fine. And you see I have all my edges and triangles like I defined previously in ZBrush. Apply my repair, remove all parts, and now done. Okay, I don't have the warning anymore. Then in theory at least, all my models should be ready to be printed. I mean, send it at least to the 3D printing software. Then I need to export back this plasma support, export part, STL, and this plasma support which has been fixed to overwrite the existing one. And same for these main body parts, export part, STL, and main. Okay, and sometimes you see it can happen that you have some manifold edges or degenerate triangles, then you need to optimize. I don't know exactly what it's doing at this stage, but click on optimize, and after a few seconds it has been fixed, and then you can export. Then now all my parts should be okay. I can leave now NetFab Basic, and what I need to launch is the software for my printer, then Preform for Formlabs, which is kindly supporting and sponsoring this again, like I said at the beginning, this presentation, this series of the Kylo Ren printing. And I'm sorry, Preform is in French, and I don't know how I can switch to English. And obviously, I would prefer using it in English. Then I will explain what you see on screen. Then right now, oh, my printer is not connected. Come on. Oh, I need to check something because my printer should be connected. Anyway. This is my Form2 printer. I don't know why it's... Oh, okay. Okay, my it was not selected, sorry. Then my printer is listed here. You can have multiple printers if you want, because it was virtual printers or whatever. It gives me the information that I have my resin tank, which is filled with my gray resin V3. Then this is my cartridge, of resin, which is almost full at this stage. Then this is what is currently loaded inside of my printer. And I will switch to my printer. Just let me switch quickly. You have, sorry, I'm a little bit far from the computer now. Then you have just at the bottom, you have this resin tank, and inside this black bar, a little bit of gray, is the wiper. And you have behind the cartridge, which is behind the printer. And later I will explain more things close to the printer. Then what you need to define the software, let me go back to my previous screen. Then you have the material you have that you are using, which version, because you may have for one material multiple versions, then you have different, the resin may be different. And what I was explaining is I will go for the quality. I will use 50 microns resolution. I don't need to go to 25 microns of resolution because at 50 microns the resolution is way enough. The quality is already very good. And because this is a big model, I don't have very fine details on it, then 25 will be useless. It will be in fact spending too much time for nothing. It's not needed. While when I'm doing my figurines, which are smaller with a lot of details, definitely I'm going to this 25 microns of resolution. And 0.1 would be in fact for some parts enough, but sometimes you see a little bit more the layers on some rounded areas that more sanding. For this project, in opposition to the Kylo Ren helmet, where I didn't have the time, in fact I was very short in time before leaving for the US, for this one I have the time to, I mean, I can let my printer printing for 12 hours and not, let's say, 8 hours, because I have enough time. Okay, then I click on this start, then I have nothing. What I need to do now is to, of course, opening and selecting some files. Then going like this, and I will start with the main one, which is a big model. Okay, and you see this model is fitting the printer, but I am a little bit short for the height. I need to be very careful. And remember, I wanted to have this part to be the bottom part. Then let me just do a rotation. And like I said before, I want to give some angle on my, my model. In fact, a little bit on the side like this. Okay, and let me look at now. You see on the side this slider, it lets you see all the slides that the printer will print. And you see that's why I said before it was very important to look at what you're doing. And then if I'm going by page up, page down, this is where I see, you see, all these layers which will appear. And it will be very important when I will print to be sure that I don't have parts which are growing again just alone, because I will need some support. Then this is very important to check always all of that. And you see here, okay, no, it's fine. Oh, not so sure. Okay, now you see everything is connected, then it should be okay. See, I'm checking, always checking like that. And this is a little bit annoying, but for all my models, I'm always checking layers by layers before printing. You see, I'm looking at all these parts to be sure that I don't have floating areas. Because Preform is very good, but sometimes it's very difficult for a software to detect some overhangs because they are very tiny. And ZBrush, it's so easy to add a lot of details. I mean, it's so far from CAD, a model that it needs some special optimization. And you see here, you see all of them, you see this one. Just for that, I need a support. And probably this one, I should add a support. Then all of them will have a support to help them. Then quite some support to send. It shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, going there. Then there is no unknown for that. And now you see this one will need some support. Let me go down. You see, this part is growing alone before being connected, and it needs some support, etc., etc. Then about the support, you click on this support generator and you have some setting. First one is the density of support. The higher, the more support you will have. The lowest, the less support you will have. And just below, what is very important, you have the point size. In fact, which is the point which will be in contact with your model. The smaller, the weaker will be your support, and the higher, the thicker, and then the stronger will be your support. The problem is thicker points will be great for keeping your model, let's say, in position and being strong during the printing process, but you will have bigger marks on your model, then more sanding and modification. And in fact, most of the time, this default value is great. And you have some advanced settings, which I will leave like that, and I will click on this generate for the selection. And you will wait few seconds. Because in fact, perhaps you already noticed that, it's most of the time longer to prepare your model for 3D printing than really sculpting it. Multiple times I had to just the time to prepare your model, creating the parts before Boolean operations, checking, optimization, exporting, fixing eventually after, and then adding all this support is very time consuming. And then you see, then all this support has been generated. But you see, why do I have all this support inside? Okay, because you have some angles, and then the software is trying to creating them to give some strength. And also, there is some angles, it's just the way it's working. Obviously, I don't need to have them because there is no details, and the support I have outside are enough to give the strength. And why I'm speaking about strength? Because, oh, Thomas, why do you have a support here while there is no overhang? Then it's useless to have a support. In fact, you need to have supports because each time you have a layer which will be printed, the printer will in fact move up, and not the printer but the build platform will move up, and the resin tank, which have some silicone layers at the bottom, will move on the side. And this operation of peeling, in fact, to detach, to remove, let's say, unstick the current layer, printed layer to the building platform, is it putting some stress, on your model. And by doing this slide operation and vertical operation, your model, if there is not enough support, can just being broken, not broken by itself, but being detached, just removing the bond between the support and the model and just fall on your print. Then you need to have the support to help for the overhang, but at the same time to give some strength to be sure your model won't move at all during the printing process. Then what you can do is going to modify mode, and then you see, let me just scroll down like that, all the supports, just these point sizes on the model. And now we're going with my page up and page down, where are you? I'm pressing this up key, and you see now each time I'm pressing up and down, this is a new layer which will be printed. Oops, sorry, I've been too fast. Okay, come on. Okay, like this. And you can click to add some support, like that. You see I'm checking all of them. And this is very important at the beginning to have enough support to hold your model. And you see it's already growing here because it will start to making this part growing. And I prefer adding more support at the beginning to be sure that my first layer will be strong enough. And now you see it's connecting to my model here. To be sure that at least the bottom part will be well connected to my model. And you see sometimes the software is wrong. You see it looking for there, but this part start to grow for 1, 2, 3 layers before being connected to a support. Then it can generate some problems. And now, like that, this is connected. That's why I'm always checking, because even if Preform is doing most of the time a great job, sometimes something can go wrong. At least at the beginning. I need to check about this part growing at one stage or another. Okay, it's okay. This one as well. You see, it's taking a lot of time, but to be honest, again, I prefer, you see, I have one layer, 2 layers, 3 layers before it starts to be connected. Then I prefer adding a support, and then it will be okay. That's why all these small steps, and you see, that's why I had all of these flat areas to be sure that when it will grow, let me check everything else. You see, it's going progressively and not having some sharp edges. And as soon as it will be okay for this part, I need to check about all of these angles there. You see this one here. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, it takes some time. I'm sorry, this is a little bit annoying to watch, but very needed. Okay, now it's growing perfectly everywhere. Now next step will be all this part. Okay, going down. Up, down. Oh, you see, I have just for one layer, a little bit of part. And what you can do is to reduce the size of your touch point and say, oh, I want to have just a small one here, because this one is just for one layer. You see, again, probably this one as well. Then this support are not to give some strength, but to be sure that you are able to make your part growing. You see, up again. No, I don't need for that one. It's okay. To be sure, we'll check this one as well and this one. The other one should be should have enough angle to avoid the issues. And you see, because before I did all this, I use my trim dynamic brush to flatten the angle. Now you see this is progressive. Okay, but not enough. But it's okay so far. And this support is not needed. Perhaps I will need one here. You see, just give one job to be sure I have enough strength. And let me check this one. This is when it starts to grow. Yes, I need one for each of them. Shit. Yeah, I can't put them because I know it will be the same for all of them. Yeah. But I prefer having more supports and not having issues. This one is useless. Let me check this one quickly. You see it's going to this edge all along. Okay. This one as well. Okay. And everything is okay so far. Now I need to check the progression on the next angles. You see here, my support is more than welcome. Let me go back to my 60 value, because I will put this one here. This one I don't need it. So this one is growing fine. Of course it takes quite some time because this part is a big one. It's a big part. But the others should be faster, at least some of them. Okay, now you see I'm starting again to go on this this part. I don't need to have this one. Okay, it's okay, it's going. Ah, shit. You see, I knew it would be problematic to have this shape, but yeah, should have given more angle. The problem is I need to check for at least the three main ones. I mean the one which has the most more angle. And you see I have some red areas like that. It's saying that, oh, potentially there is not enough strength on the model. Okay. And the problem with big models is also they are not fitting the cleaning tools because they are too big. Let me check this one on the top. Okay, and the one on the bottom. In fact, right now I'm looking at what is really needed. After I will add or remove some of them. Okay, now I don't need to add more. I know it's okay. Let me apply these supports and let me save. Okay, then why I just save? Because you see all this support inside, I don't need them. They are useless. And you see this type of support. Of course, for us it's obvious to know that why you need to do that just to connect here and supporting that. Yes, but we see with your eyes, with our eyes. The software doesn't have eyes, and that's why sometimes it's doing just some mistake. And I just delete this one. In fact, I will delete all the support inside of my model because I don't need them at all. It will create useless support, it will use resin for nothing, and it will burn too much, too much. Long support may be annoying for the resin tank because the silicon layer can be burned, is burned by the laser. Okay, then let me apply my, okay. Then you see, now I have all these support which are useful to help growing. And you see on this area, we see all this one we added. Perhaps I will just add one here, modify. Okay, like this. But you see that you have some part in red. And other part, like I said before, add support, let's say, for giving some strength to the model before doing the operation. Then I will leave them, but what I will do is, let me go back to my 60 for the value. I will put them just in the middle of part which will be easy to send. Because if I'm on an edge, it will be, the risk is to send the edge by itself. Especially this kind of edge. Of course, it's not a big deal because my model, need to be sent, not look too much clean, but I need to take care. And you see this one is useless, and because I want to send on the edge, it will be problematic. The only thing I need to check is as well this one. Do I need it or not? Because it's just on a Boolean operation. Yep, I need to have it. Okay, angle. This one will be obviously needed as well. Yeah, but this one I can put that more on the side. And I think I can even remove it. You see, I don't want to have them just exactly on the edge. On the side I'm fine, but not inside like that. It's useless, really useless. Another reason as well that you need to have them, all this support, it's because when you are far from the bottom, when you are making your model growing and up and more, the base is very far from the printing process. And if you don't have enough support, the risk is to have some slight deformation on the side, and then you can have some slight deformation. Then the more support you have, again, the stronger will be your model. But I can keep all of these support, but just moving them on the side, not being just on sharp edges. But trust me, you learn that by doing, quite some prints. Then I need all of them. This one just on the side. Okay. Then the red means that, oh, at this area probably there is not enough support. Why? This is because of the inside part. But I have enough strength. I know that because my thickness is thick enough, and I have enough support on the background just to keep the model in place. Then that's okay. Then what I can do is to import some other model. Open, and what I will select will be, I have the body part. I will select the cap and the cap support. And let's print both of these model. Let me think about something. Okay. Let me rotate the other one. See, I'm trying to find an angle where I will start with a corner and avoiding again if I can avoid some flat edges where my model will grow to avoid issues like that. Okay. Let me move this one on the side, at least for now. You can rotate if you want, because, okay, like this. I can select that one, and this one I think I give a little bit too much angle. The vertical resolution obviously is the best one, because the layers are the smallest on the vertical resolution. And now, again, I will generate for this model my supports. Yeah, there is a reason to give an angle for the model, because it's going layers by layers. It's better to have something which will go progressively, not having big layers one by one. In fact, if you want to print just a cube, you won't put the cube flat just on the model. You give some angle, because if you want to print it flat, really parallel to the build platform, you need to have a lot of support just to hold your model, because the one layer, very thin layer, we need to have a big area. Then each time you will peel your model, in fact, it will just stick to the silicone layer. Sorry, it's not very easy to explain, but yeah, it's better to give some angle to your model to be sure it will grow perfectly. Let me modify that, and same thing, it should be faster for this one. Let me then go to my first layers. Where are you, my layers? Okay, you see it start to grow on this area. Then I put an extra one, and this one like this. See, this one is growing here. Okay, I think it's growing okay. Okay, perfect. Then I don't see anything wrong for this kind of model. You see, for this part, it's growing progressively. Can remove that one, I think. But trust me, for your first model you are printing with an SLA printer, it's better to have more supports than trying to remove, oh, this one is useless, this one is useless, because you need to consider all of this need about keeping the model in position, giving some strength for the support, and of course managing all the overhangs. And you have something that I did not explain, are the suction cup, which are all these areas where you have no, I mean, you see, it's like a glass that you put upside down and you try to put in the water and you press down, you still have some air inside and no resin is going in. Or more important, when you have a suction cup, when you put on a very soft surface like the silicone layer, you press on it, and when you are going up, then it's very difficult to unstick. And this is what can happen with suction cup. And if you don't care about that, the risk is to have all these areas which are pressed on the silicone layer, and it will be very difficult to unstick. And when you try to unstick, if your support are not strong enough, you will start to break support, and at one stage your model will just fall from the support and you will have a failed print. Then for this one, this is very small because just few layers, it's okay, but you need to be very careful about not having big suction cup on your model. And this is one of the first source of issues when you are printing. Okay, now I know everything is okay. I will just move these from outside of, sorry. I just need to put them outside of the edges again, like I did before, but everything seems to be okay. What you can do as well is, okay, you want to be secure, let's say, oh, I want to have big support, and I put, let's say, some of them on areas which are easy to send. Like that, you will have quite some strength by big pillars which will be strong enough to hold your model. And on this area, this is easy to cut and send your model. Okay, and then this one. That's why I checked my model to be sure that I won't have suction cup on my model. You see it start to print, and I should have a smaller one, perhaps. You see, when I will arrive, no, not even, because my resin is able to go, you see, from this big hole. And you see, this model we use quite some resin because these parts are okay, but starting to this level I have a lot of resin for nothing. But if I had done some rounded area, I would have some suction cap. That's why I didn't do some of them. Okay, I need to check about the orientation. Because I will need to have support for this one. Okay, now I'm a little bit late. Modify. Okay, then this one I really need to check about the layers to be sure that I won't have issues on all these small details, especially this one. I don't like to have layers being far from being connected. Okay, then it's growing well. You see, one layer, one part which was missing, and I thought it was okay, but and sometimes it's not possible to add your support because there is no space to connect them to some bottom parts. This one is short. Okay, let's do that. You see, I have two supports which are needed just to help my part on a very small part. That's why these detailed parts are great, but it can be sometimes very tricky because you need to add the support just for one layer or two layers. Okay, now it should be okay for everything else. Let me just go back to see the other part. Let me look at all of them. Okay, that's okay here. It's a lot of up and down. You see, up this one. I need to have one here. And this is another reason why I splitted my model in multiple parts, because it would be easier to send this part if it's like that than if I put all my other model around it. Then to access all these items will be very difficult. Okay, then everything else should be fine, I think. Let me go back to okay, now everything should be alright. Oh, you see, I have, yeah. You see, this is what could be a suction cup. Because you need to consider that your printer will be upside down, but the support will be there. Then the resin is always able to flow outside of your model. Oh, no, there's something wrong. Because it's print this one. No, sorry, it can go outside. I'm tired. Okay. Then let's say like that, I'm able to print all the bottom part of my printer like this. Then of course, it's better to print a little bit more, putting more files, but I don't want to spend too much time in Preform. Then you can organize. like this. Okay, like that. Now my model is ready to be printed. Then let me just save it. Oops. And now we'll switch to another microphone. I'm sorry, the audio won't be as good as it is right now.
RE. Okay. Then now you see the printer. Then okay. Okay, let me move around now. You see better my fingers. Okay, then the printer on its side should be ready to be printed. What is very important to check before printing on the printer is, of course, to have your resin cartridge, which is just in the background, and you have the cap by itself. Which can be open or closed. You need to open it because you need to have enough air going through to avoid, to be sure that the resin will flow. And let me open the printer. Okay, now the printer is open, and what you see is you have multiple parts. You have the build platform that you can remove. This is where your print will be done. And when you will start to print, what you will see just later, this build platform will go down inside of this resin tank. Then you have some resin inside already. You have something like 250 milliliters of resin already inside, if I'm not wrong with the value. Then it will go inside, and at the inside of this resin tank, then you have the resin. You have this wiper. The wiper for each layers will go from this right to left, just to clean and also to just to mix the resin at the same time. The good thing about the wiper, it's just at the limit of the silicone layer, which is below, and it will clean eventually some parts which didn't snap to the model, which are not connected to the 3D printing parts. Okay, the microphone is more quiet. Is it better now? Just let me know. I'm sorry because I'm not used about using two microphones. Then each time you are printing, a layer is printed, the platform of course will be going inside, and like I said, you have this silicone layer which is below, and the building platform will be at the resolution defined in the software at this 50 microns, just on top of this silicone layer. Then you should have 50 microns of liquid resin between the silicone layer and the build platform, and then the laser, which is just below, will hit from the bottom the resin tank, which is transparency. This is some transparent acrylic on the bottom. We'll go through the silicone layer and then we'll burn, let's say, we'll cure the resin, because this is a UV laser. We'll cure the resin, which will solidify, and when the first layer will be done, the build platform will go up from 50 microns, and the resin tank will go from left to right, or right to left to right, just to unstick the model directly. Like that, you'll be able to move and unstick the model, and then giving enough room, this new 50 microns, to print the next layer. And then it will go up and down again, like that, to print the whole model. Then 50 microns by 50 microns. Except at the beginning, for the support, before it hits the model, it will put at 100 micron resolution, because you don't need to have accurate details on the first layer, which are just for supports and this kind of raft printed of the model. Except that there is nothing very complex. After, in fact, this is more the cleaning process and everything else, which is very important. Obviously, this resin is sensitive to the light and UV lights, and it's very important to keep the bottom, the cover always closed as much as possible. I have no ideas about my LEDs lights in my office. If there is some UVs, this 405 nanometers length wave UVs, I don't know, but just to be sure. Now what I will do, I will send the print. Then in Preform, you just have a print button, and after a few seconds, sorry, you don't see that right now. Let me switch back.
Okay, now I'm back with the microphone. You see it's generating the model to be, in fact, it's slicing the model. And what you see on the far right, bottom right, it detects that you have unsupported minima detected, that some parts shouldn't fit the model, and you need more support. In fact, this is all this part here. This is misdetection, because I check layers by layers. I know it will work, but this thing can give you some information. And also you have the cups, what I explained before, to see all these suction cup. Then when you are a newcomer, this is very important to show, just to look at all these informations, because it will avoid failed prints. Of course, after some experience, you will know what you do. On my side, I started with the Form 1, I switched to the Form 1 Plus, and now the Form 2. And I learned the hard way, because at the beginning, the software and the printer was not as, unfortunately, as robust as it is now. Then I had a failed print. At the beginning, I was building my own supports with these spheres inside of ZBrush, and I had a lot of failed prints, but I really learned a lot of things by doing that, by trial and errors, which was very helpful. And now, so far, I'm very lucky, not very lucky, but because, again, I learned a lot, but I didn't have any failed prints since I'm using a Form 2. Then for me, this is something great about this printer. And I'm not saying that because this is sponsored by Formlabs, because I really think about that, that this support for me is very robust, and this is something which is great. I know a lot of things now with the Form 2. I know where when my model have suction cups or not. Then having all these settings, you need to enable them at the beginning when you are newcomers. You see like that this model is printable or not. Of course, I know that this model is printable by experience. But for me, this is what is great with the Form 2. It's very reliable as a printer. I had no failed prints so far. Then I'm very happy with that. And for me, this is one of the good arguments about your printer is, okay, do you have a huge community behind? Is the company seems to be trustable, or more important, having support? But what is more important is to have feedback. Is the printer is trustable? There is a lot of printer I saw by myself. I wanted to test, but when I see that you need to deal with open source software, I'm fine with open source software, but you need to deal with a lot of settings and things like that. And I'm also testing other printers which have their own software, but you need to, especially for DLP printers, to define for each model the exposure. But if you have thin part or bigger part, it's not the same exposure, all these kind of things. For me, I mean, I don't have the time. And sometimes, yeah, if you spend less in a printer, but you have a lot of failures, of course you'll have a lot of frustration, but you will lose a lot of money in terms of resin, which will go to the waste. And that's why it's important. So it's taking a little bit of time to load the model. It should be soon now, I hope. Yeah, in fact, it's still slicing, and at the same time, it's uploading on the printer. And when it will be uploaded on the printer, the model will be, the printer will be autonomous, meaning that you can quit the software. You will be able to just manage, the printer will be able to manage on its own. And while doing that, the printer is starting the filling, not the filling, heating the resin, because the resin is hit by the printer to something like 30 degrees Celsius. Sorry, I don't know in Fahrenheit. It increase also the printing. I think the resin is more liquid at higher temperature, and also it helps. I mean, I know that if you want to do some post curing, you can hit the resin as well. Then I think by doing that, the laser has less work to do. It will be more efficient in terms of curing the resin, because the resin will be hotter than more ready to be printed. Let me just look at the upload. Okay, now it's, you see, file has been uploaded with success, and you can also look at the progress online. I can't do that because I'm not logged in on this computer on my dashboard, but you can follow directly online. And now I will switch back to my webcam.
Yeah. Okay, then sorry this is not very visible on the screen, but the printer, you have a preview of your model, and just ask OK, print now. You press on it, then it's checking that the cartridge vent is open, build platform is OK, and then you can press on the button to confirm. Let's wait a little bit. And you see you have the wiper, the build platform, which is going down a little bit, and you see it's written preparing to print, and it's heating. Right now the temperature is at 28.2 degrees Celsius, and it's doing some filling. The filling, it's the resin tank, the cartridge. You have a kind of valve at the bottom, and the system pinching a little bit the resin tank. Okay, and you see it's print will start at 31 degrees. You don't see that in the background, I don't think. A little bit, but we see the resin flowing inside, just to be sure that there is enough resin. The good thing is, whatever you print, if you need more than 200 milliliters of resin, it will fill during the process, and no need to press the print. And before, with my Form 1 and Form 1 Plus, I had some lines, layers which have been offset because I opened my printer just to refill and restarting the process. Now, I mean, it's not happening anymore, which is obviously great. Okay, then I won't wait for this 31 degrees Celsius, because the first layers, I mean, it's overprint by the printer. I mean, the laser is going over and over to be sure it will stick really to the build platform, and this is just a few degrees, then it's fine. Then I can start now. Okay, now it asks confirmation, then I can start the print. You see it's 29 degrees for 2 degrees, but I still need to wait, I guess, for the resin tank to fill. And I don't know it's working exactly, but multiple times during the printing process, it's sensing the resin. And by sensing, I guess it's looking for the white, because there is no system to check for the resin tank, or perhaps this is optical. I don't know, but sometimes the print is just pausing and then sensing the resin. If there is not enough resin, then the cartridge will just be used to fill the resin tank. Okay, let's wait. This is a part I need to wait a little bit. But as soon as it starts printing, it's fine. Also, there is some other printer which may be a little bit faster. I'm thinking about DLP ones, you know, with a projector and things like that. But so far, I prefer a printer which is slightly slower, but which provide good result, at least. And again, I'm very convinced. In terms of little story, this printer has been purchased by Xavier, a co-worker, a developer of Pixologic, and myself. You see right now, this is a wiper, which is mixing the resin. And you see now the build platform is going down, like that. And at this stage, there is just this 100 microns at this stage, and not 50 microns, between the silicone layer, which is at the bottom of the tank, and the build platform. And you don't see that, but you have the laser, which is just doing the path, I mean, just following a path just to draw one layer of the model, which is obviously this kind of raft, which is at the bottom of the model. Then the first layer is take quite some time, again, because it's over curing all these parts. And I don't know if you see that, but you have this disc inside the internal disk is the time it takes to print one layer, and the outside one, which is the total layers to print. And right now I have 3,401 layers to print for 14 minutes roughly. So time is quite accurate, but you need to add to that the time. Sometimes it takes to sense the resin and to refill, but it doesn't increase a lot printing time. Then Doug is asking a question, do you need to drain the resin after every print? Can the resin remain in the tank for days without printing? It is a pain to clean the tank. In fact, you don't need to clean the resin tank as soon as you don't leave your resin inside of the printer, let's say for month and month and month. But I didn't print with these printers. It's been more than a month and a half, and my resin was inside. The only thing I did before starting the print, you see the wiper being going left and right, but I did that myself. I have a scrapping tool, which I sand the corner not to scratch really the silicone, and I've just scrapped gently the silicone layer just to mix the resin about all of that. But there is no need to remove it. Also, you are using one resin tank per resin, because the resin tank, in fact, the resin, you need this IPA alcohol, isopropylic resin, alcohol to clean your model and to clean the resin. The problem is the acrylic. The resin tank is made of acrylic, and acrylic doesn't like at all the IPA. It can just break. Then you don't clean that. It's better to have, if you are working with multiple type of resin, it's better to have one resin tank per resin. On my side, I'm working almost only with the gray resin, then for me it's not a problem. The only thing that you can clean is the building platform, which is the part in black on top, and you have a metallic part just below where the print is done, I mean on top of this metallic part. And this one, if you want to change of resin tank and type of resin, you need to clean it. Then you can use the IPA alcohol to clean it, which is not a problem. Of course, you need to clean after this alcohol with some water, because if you leave some alcohol inside of this, on top of that, and it go inside of the resin, it will be a problem. The resin will be contaminated with the alcohol, which is not good. But it's not really a big deal, and you won't put back your resin inside of the cartridge. There is multiple reasons. One of them is because sometimes you will have some failure, not a failure for the print, but some part that you didn't look at are missing support, and then you may have some solidified resin just inside of your resin, just floating inside of your resin, which may be problematic for some next prints. And also because you will open your resin tank, perhaps you will have any kind of contamination, even low contamination. Then if you put back your resin inside of the resin tank, which is possible, the resin from your resin tank inside of the cartridge, you will of course mix this already used, let's say, resin with the one which is, let's say, clean and pure. Then you can do it. It's not advised. Then to be honest, this is very easy to manage your resin. You need to be very careful, and something I won't be able to look at, but I'm sorry, I have it's not visible in my review. Hold on, because I did a review of the printer in English. Let me give you the link. Go to English, sorry. I'm explaining a lot of things inside of this review, but yes, you see the cleaning tools, because something that you need to consider is when your print is done, you need to clean your model, which is full covered by liquid resin, because it was inside of the tank. And because this resin is very not very fluid, it's sticky, and it's very sticky. It's not very great to manipulate. I don't know if you see the laser just on the side. I don't know if you see the light. You see that on the webcam. You see the light on the front part here, just doing all these big layers. And what is really great about this system with Formlabs is you have everything from the beginning to the end. You have the software, the printer, and the cleaning tools. Let me show you that in the on the screen. I will switch off microphone in few seconds because the layer should be okay. I will just show you on the screen what I was saying about the cleaning tools. Come on, you see we are very close. I don't know if you see that. No, it's not very visible. It's too luminosity is too high, but it will be very, very close. And then at the end of this layer, it will go slowly to do the pinning process and going up and down to ensure it will be done smoothly. And after, of course, it will be faster and faster. But the first layer are very slow, just to be sure it's fine. You see, this is still the same layer, but the laser is going over and over and over to be sure it will be really print the best way. Okay, we are very close to the end. Come on. Before switching to the screen. Then the tricks, it will take something like 14 hours to print these 3 parts. But one of them is really big in terms of height. Okay, come on, finish this layer. Yeah, you see the laser working. I think it's doing the last pass. No, yes, no. Come on. Because I don't want to switch off screen, I mean off webcam if it's done. I would like to see you the change, I mean the step. Yeah, you need to wait when you are doing 3D printing, but the wait's worth. I mean, it's worth it just to wait. It's been now years that I'm doing 3D printing, but I'm still so fascinated by this process about making stuff growing. That's just crazy. You see, I don't know if you hear that. You see, it has been slightly, it's, you see, moving, and you see this kind of going up and down. It's just waiting, and right now this is not visible perhaps for you, but it's sensing the resin, just to be sure everything is fine. It's always like that with the first layer, then you see the resin just flowing a little bit, and after it will going faster and faster. The first layer, because the curing is very, very strong, it takes a lot of time just to be clean. Okay, it's adding some resin. You didn't hear the noise, but the noise with the valve is very specific. And just on the back, you don't see that, but you have the resin which is flowing a little bit. Come on. Come on, come on. It's adding even more resin. The problem is, even if you try to see from the bottom, you don't see almost anything because the layer is 0.1 millimeter. With the resin liquid mixed with everything, you'd see nothing. It's when you start to have, let's say, 2 or 3 centimeters that you really start to see something. but between the support and the light, it's not always very easy to see. I don't know if you see better like that. Again, first layers are very slow, and after it starts to be quite fast. And also something I really enjoy with this printer is that it's not that noisy. Right now what I'm hearing is there is a small fan, I guess, not very very quiet, and after this is this peeling process and going up and down. And I mean, it's not noiseless, totally noiseless, but you can work with the printer around multiple times. I did meeting with it, and yes, people who know the printer know, oh, Thomas, you are 3D printing. But except that, it's not very annoying. While my FDM printer, my Ultimaker, yeah, I love it, but it's just a pain about all the fans and the noise it's doing. It's it becomes really problematic. Then you can work, and you see, there is 1.5 meters between the printer and my main screen. And you see I have another computer then, which is here. And yes, you have 1.5 meters because you have 1 meter between. You don't see there is another screen. Yeah, not very easy to see. Okay, come on. It's still sensing the resin. And I guess it will be now way more faster. In fact, I really noticed that because right now I'm explaining that to you and giving you some comments, but most of the time I'm starting to print and I don't care anymore about the printer. Then this is the first time I really noticed that it takes quite some time to sense the resin for the first layer, and still feeling some resin right now. No smell with the resin. Can you print the printer to close space? Yes, the resin, of course, if you open the cover and put your nose on top of the resin, you will smell a very characteristic smell. Sorry. But you see now it's wiping, mixing the resin, and now it's going back. Okay, now it should be a little bit faster. The first layer again are slower, and after it will be faster and faster. Now let me switch back to the other microphone.
Okay, now you should hear me better, I hope. Let me know. Okay, while it's printing. Then what you see on screen right now, this is my review of the printer. Again, this printer, yes, it's sponsored by Formlabs, but this is a printer that my coworker Xavier and myself, we bought together. It's not provided by Pixologic or Formlabs. This is just our personal printer. And then this review has been done by myself, of course, about the printer. And then this is what is provided with the tool. You see, you have this support where you put the build platform on top, then upside down. The metallic part is on top, and this is very easy to handle and to manipulate with your hands. You have some tools which are provided. Then you have these players and cutting tools, and this stuff is done to, let me go back in Preform, and you see, just below here, you have this kind of raft which supports the supports, and you have this type of this angle. And with this tool, you just put that just below and doing a kind of side movement like that, and it will directly making your model just unsticking. I don't know if you hear the printer in the background now, but it's way faster. And this tool is very convenient because before you had to buy some utility tools or scraper, trying to find some angles going inside. It was just very painful. And since the Form 2, you have everything provided, and especially these IPA tanks. Inside you have 2 tanks, and you fill that with IPA alcohol. This is roughly 8 liters, 7 to 8 liters of alcohol, in between. I mean, for both of them. Most of the time, what I'm doing is this one on the left on the screen. I use that to do the main part of the cleaning, removing the majority of this liquid resin which is on top of my cure resin. And this IPA very quickly becomes saturated of alcohol. And then I'm leaving my model roughly 10 minutes in this alcohol, and I'm agitating, I'm shaking my model, in fact, with this stuff that you see in black, which is on the other side at this stage. My prints are on top of that, and I'm moving upside down just to shake my model with shaking my model inside of the alcohol. And after this 10 minutes, I'm moving my model to the other one just to finish the cleaning with an IPA which is as clean as possible. And you can close that, and in fact for me, in terms of smell, the alcohol is way more annoying than the resin. The resin smell again, but not that much. You see, my office is 10 square meter, and the ceiling is at 2 meter and 10 centimeters. Then I'm in a very close space, and it's not a problem to have the printer with next to me. It's not a problem. While I'm testing right now another printer with resin as well, and there is a big fan because of a cooling system which is very noisy, and because of the fan, it's how can I say that? The fumes of the resin go all over the place because of the fans of the cooling system, and then in the room it smells a lot. Then I'm not able to use this printer in my office just because, of course, of the noise, but I can deal with that. But because of the fumes, the smell of the resin, then I move that in another room, which is not a problem. Of course, it will depend on the printer. There are benefits and cons. But for me, the Form2 is really great about all of that. And now, of course, you have some notice. I don't know them, which is Form Wash and Form Cure, which this one is just a tool which automatically clean your model inside of the IPA for the good time and the amount of time needed for your print and stuff like that. And this one will cure your model by heating your model and using UVs to post-cure your model as much as possible. Some resin, like the gray one, it's not really needed, but some technical resins need to have this post-cure. You can use any kind of UVs like these tools to nails, sorry. You know this tool to when you are I don't know to express the name in English, but these fake nails that girls and women are putting on top of their fingers. I don't know to name that. They are, in fact, they are using resin, and you need to have cures. You need to cure this resin, and you can buy these tools on Amazon for something like $20, which cures the resin at the same length wave of this tool. But this one is totally automatic. This is automatic, an automatic system, and when you are a professional doing a lot of prints on a daily basis, this is something that you must own. Anyway, after this system prints, and you see right now this is a 25 microns. Let me just see that 25 microns and 50 microns. You see the only main difference is the number of layers, and you see slightly the on very flat areas this progression of layers, which is more visible. But you see, this is even this photo is bigger than the model. It's almost not visible. A little bit more here, and when you apply some primer paint on it, you see it. But except that, not a big deal. Anyway, and you see this is very accurate. This is centimeters and millimeters. Sorry, I'm working with international units. And this is a print I did. And this is, you know, this Star Wars shield generators. And you see on top all this part. And in fact, I'm way smaller than the minimal wall thickness supported by the printer. And I've been surprised. It shouldn't pinch. But I did not expect the printer to be able to print this kind of stuff. And you see this one, I don't know what is the size, but it's way below than the supported resolution. And I've been very surprised that. And you see, I reprint the model by giving more thickness to the model, and it was just perfect. And all this kind of small part, I've been very impressed. And this is very small. Anyway, other part of model, this Nefertiti, you see the resolution. This is very close up. You have 5 millimeters between this part, while on screen I have 1.5 centimeters. Then this is very thin, and this is 100 microns resolution. And you see, this is how much is clean. You don't even see the layers. And this is what you see with here on the side are all these supports, these marks left by the supports on the model. That's why you need to consider where you put the support to be sure you can remove them. On this model, on the front part, you see all these I mean, there is no layers, no supports. All the supports have been put on the bottom, and you see on the back. Then the main part of the face, of course, is the front one. It's not that visible, and on the back it's easier to sand. But this one, yeah, you need to be very accurate, and you need to have the tools to clean as much as possible. And you see this one, it was with the gray version 2 resin. And you see it's very small, and you have the sign of the artist. This is very clean, and you see these small details. You see because of this 3.5 millimeters connectors, it's very accurate. And of course you have different resins. The gray V2, which is not available anymore, and the gray V3. The V3 and V4 is the same. There is just one ingredient which has been, it's a different provider. That's why they changed the number, but this is the same. And I really love that one. This is the gray V2. This is the white one. I'm not a big fan of the white one, the previous one, because the layers were more visible. But now the new one, the gray V4, the white V4 seems to be as good as the gray V3. I didn't try it yet. And you see this is the difference between the Form 2 and Form 1. You see, same resolution, it's way more consistent all along the model. I mean, as soon as you test both, there is no comparison. And this one, this is FDM printing, and the Form 2. And the resolution of 25 microns, this one was with the 0.25 millimeter nozzle with 40 microns layer, which is very nice. But if you want to be as close as to what you have here, you need to print really bigger than anyway. You can look at my review of the printer. I mean, it's for me, I really love this this printer. You see, for the wiper, what you see just below is just at the bottom. This is this silicone layer. Okay, this is what you need to clean, and this is what will be used over the time after 2 liters of resin when you print at 100 microns, and if you print at 25 microns, you print 4 times more layers than 100 microns because of the resolution. Then this part, because of the laser, which is very strong, it will start to burn on place where the laser is going over and over, especially when you have long support like that. Then you start to have marks, which is I don't know if I didn't take a photo of that. Shit, I thought I did. And you see this is a heat map of the printing, and you see all of these kind of small dots are the support when you have big ones. And the more you print an area, the more the less transparent will be your silicone layers at a stage where it will become very cloudy. And because it will be cloudy, the optical quality will go down, and then your quality will reduce as well. That's why this resin tank need to be replaced on a regular basis. Then you need to consider that in terms of cost and what you will print with the printer. And this is what you see here is what you have inside of the cartridge support, and this stuff will just pinch a valve, and then the resin will go through this hole inside of the printer. Anyway, I'm explaining a lot of things about the optic. You see this valve below. What I'm doing when I'm pinching with my finger, this is what this this kind of stuff, I don't know to name that in English, is pinching at the same time. Anyway, the wiper. And what is great is you have a leveling system to be sure that your printer is on level, which is very electronic. You have this tool to rotate the fit of the printer, just to be sure you're on level. You can connect through Ethernet, through USB, through Wi-Fi. For me, it's sorry, this not the goal is not to do a review, but it's great. And it was before my Form 1 Plus next to the Form 2, which is bigger. But you see, my second monitor is very close to this area. Then you can definitely work with your model. And you see what is great is now the Form 2 laser is more powerful, and the pitch of the layer is very, very short. You see, this is 140 microns, but you are able to print very, very small stuff like that, which is really great. Anyway, let's go back to the printer and let's end this stream. Hold on. Okay, webcam 2.
Okay. You see now it's still going slowly to do the unpeeling, going up and down. You see, and now on the side. Again, because the first one are very important. And at one stage, I don't know at which layer, perhaps the 10th layer, it starts to go way more faster. You see this up and down and slide, because it will be just one pass of laser per layer. Then yes, it's still, you see, it's, you don't see that circle, but circle now is going a little bit faster than before. Okay, let's see. It should be, okay, layer 10 now. Come on. Oh. It's funny because the circle just go to the main part and then go back. Anyway, okay, I will end with that. Thank you very much for spending these almost 4 hours with me. I hope it has been interesting, very technical, I'm sorry with that, very different from something, let's say, very creative. I hope you learned quite some stuff. I hope you will have some interest in 3D printing. My next stream, probably next Sunday, I should start again with, like I said, figurine and a lot of sculpting this time, very organic sculpting, but I will spend probably few minutes to go back to this project to show you the result with all the parts printed. I hope to show you then what is the result of this current stream. Anyway, thank you very much everyone for being with me. I tell you then see you next Sunday, same time, and have a great end of day, great end of weekend, and enjoy this next week. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye bye.